Imagine waking up in a world where humanity has quietly agreed on one thing. There will be no children after us, no new names to memorize, no small footsteps following ours. Just one final generation, living out the full echo of human history. What kind of world would remain when the future decides not to arrive?
The last generation. What if humanity chose to stop having children? At first, nothing dramatic happens. No sirens, no collapsing cities, no sudden silence. The day humanity collectively decides not to have children looks almost identical to the day before. People still wake up to alarms, coffee still steams, trains still run. The sun does not hesitate at the horizon, checking our intentions before rising. History rarely announces its turning points with fireworks. Most of the time, it slips a note under the door and walks away. This decision spreads quietly. No single law, no universal announcement. Just a shared conclusion reached across cultures, borders, and beliefs. This will be the last generation. Some call it compassion. Others call it surrender. Many simply call it inevitable. And so, without births, the future begins to thin. Year 0 to 20, a world that still believes it will continue. For the first 2 decades, the world feels almost unchanged. Hospitals still hum, but maternity wards grow quieter. Pediatric wings are repurposed into geriatric care. Toy factories slow production. Schools merge classrooms, then entire buildings. Economists initially panic. Growth models collapse. Pension systems wobble like furniture with a missing leg. But then, something strange happens. Pressure eases. Traffic lightens. Housing prices fall. The competition that once pressed humanity into sharp corners begins to loosen its grip. People work fewer hours. Automation steps in, not as a threat, but as a relief. Machines are no longer stealing jobs from children who will never exist. Cities breathe. For the first time in centuries, humanity lives without rushing toward replacement. Psychologists note a subtle shift in behavior. People become gentler with time. With no legacy to sculpt through descendants, life turns inward. Art flourishes. Philosophy resurfaces in cafes. People ask questions they postponed for generations. What does a good life mean if it echoes nowhere? Year 20 to 50, the age of knowing. By now, the youngest humans are adults. They know, with mathematical certainty, that there will be no one after them. This knowledge changes everything. Careers lose their sharp edges. There is no ladder to climb if the roof is already visible. People choose work that matters now, not work that secures a distant family tree. Science pivots. Medical research focuses less on pediatrics and more on longevity, comfort, memory preservation. Aging is no longer an inconvenience. It is the final chapter everyone will read. Governments restructure themselves around decline rather than expansion. Borders soften. There is no strategic advantage in conquest if there is no future population to inherit it. War becomes illogical, not impossible, but pointless in a way humanity has rarely experienced. And something else fades too: advertising. A world without children does not need endless novelty. Trends slow, fashion stabilizes. Objects are built to last because there is no next generation to discard them casually. Landfills stop growing. Forests begin to creep back into abandoned suburbs. Animals reclaim parking lots with quiet confidence, like tenants returning after an eviction error. The planet exhales. Year 50 to 80, the quieting. Cities shrink, not collapse, shrink. Elevators stop running in the top floors of skyscrapers. Entire neighborhoods dim their lights permanently. Infrastructure is carefully dismantled rather than abandoned. Humanity becomes an expert in graceful retreat. There are still concerts, but they feel ceremonial. Still movies, but fewer sequels. Still celebrations, but birthdays matter more than anniversaries. Memory becomes sacred. People record themselves more, not for fame, but for existence. Billions of hours of voices, thoughts, laughter, and regrets are archived. The greatest library humanity ever builds is not for learning, but for remembering. Psychologists notice something unexpected. Depression does not spike. Anxiety decreases. Without the pressure of continuation, many people feel lighter. Life becomes precious not because it leads somewhere, but because it ends. Relationships deepen. When every goodbye is potentially final, people choose their words carefully. Forgiveness becomes common. So does gratitude. Year 80 to 110, the last Middle Age. The world now belongs to the old. Every human alive has watched their entire species age alongside them. Wrinkles are not reminders of decay, they are maps of survival. Technology hums quietly in the background, maintaining power grids, water systems, and climate stabilization programs designed to outlast humanity itself. Yes, humanity plans for a planet without humans. Yes, humanity plans for a planet without humans. Satellites are programmed to deorbit gracefully. Nuclear facilities are sealed like tombs, with warning markers meant for no one. Data centers are set to shut down in stages, preserving a final snapshot of civilization. Artists create their last works, knowing they are truly last. There is no imagined audience in the future, only each other. And that changes art profoundly. It becomes honest, not instructional, not aspirational, just human. Year 110 to 130, the final children. There is a strange phrase people use now, the final children. It refers to those who were young adults when the decision was made. They are the last humans who remember childhood as a shared expectation rather than a historical concept. By now, entire professions vanish: teachers, pediatricians, toy designers. But their absence does not feel tragic. It feels complete, like a book with no missing pages. Nature advances steadily. Whales sing louder without shipping noise. Birds nest in places once poisoned by exhaust. Coral reefs show hesitant signs of recovery. Climate models improve, not because humanity solved every problem, but because it stopped creating new ones. The planet does not mourn us, it adapts. The final decades, one by one. Death becomes visible, not in catastrophe, but in sequence. Communities grow smaller, tighter. People gather for meals more often. Loneliness exists, but it is acknowledged, shared, spoken aloud instead of hidden. There is a global tradition now. When someone dies, their recorded memories are played publicly. A voice echoes through a room, a park, sometimes an entire city. The dead speak to the living one last time. Stories replace monuments. The last scientists shut down the last labs. The last pilots ground the last planes. The last programmers write shutdown code that will never be debugged. And then, quietly, humanity becomes a memory while still alive. The last human. No one knows who the last human will be. There are guesses, probability curves, romantic theories. But when the moment comes, it will not be dramatic. Perhaps it is an old woman in a coastal city, listening to waves that have forgotten our ships. Or a man in a mountain cabin, surrounded by forests that once feared fire. The last human does not curse the decision, they understand it. They have lived in a world without hurry, without inheritance anxiety, without the need to justify existence through offspring. Their final thoughts are not of extinction, they are of completeness. When the last heartbeat fades, the earth does not shudder, the moon does not blink, the universe does not pause to take notes. Life continues, just not ours. What kind of place would the world be? It would be quieter, kinder, slower. A world without children would not be empty of meaning. It would simply stop outsourcing meaning to the future. Humanity's greatest experiment would not be conquest or technology or civilization. It would be restraint. And perhaps, long after the last city crumbles into green silence, the universe would hold this strange footnote: a species that learned how to begin and chose how to end. Not with fire, but with understanding. Children are the joy of our world. They are our most innocent ones. They are our hopes and our tomorrows. Thank goodness for children.